Hey guys, so let's talk about price checks. First, let's get the misconceptions out of the way, but really fast. I checked the trade site and there was nothing there. You did not. Or should I say that you either didn't check or didn't check correctly, which this guide will help with. Why do you care about posting price checks? This place gets a lot of traffic, and most of us believe game discussion is better than inane price checks. This place used to get flooded a lot, and it's really not bad now in terms of price checks. But since we've already cleaned the place up, most of us want to keep it that way. This guide is just an honest attempt to save you and us time, teach you man to fish, yada yada. Why do you care so much about what people post? You always care what people do in a subgroup of humans participating in a shared activity. That's what a community is, and helping said community survive longer or be more well-informed is generally a good thing. The Reddit page would be a ghost town without price checks. We've seen this unequivocally to be not true, and the Reddit page is much better and filled with more game discussion now that price checks have been minimized. Don't you care about new players? Of course, see Teach a Man to Fish parable, yada yada. The trade site is overpriced. Half true. We'll go over survivorship bias in the video, but things listed on the trade site are not selling or are about to sell. You can assume anything priced below the lowest price for your item, condition stats, already sold, and what's left is the top end, so to speak, for your item. Whew! That's done. The actual guide. Alright, so let's go over the basics of how you search for items on the trade site. Let's say you have a unique item, like a Shaco, which is generally called a Harlequin crest. You can search for anything that's online right now, and this will tell you everyone who is logged into the game and generally what they're requiring for their item, right? Now, if you want to narrow things down, you can look for things with sockets, for example, by using the Sockets tab. If you want something that's corrupted, well, you can just look for all corruptions by selecting yes. But if you want a specific corruption, you can go to the Properties tab at the bottom. The common one is cannot be frozen on Shacos. So, if I search for that, I can see there's one guy online with a cannot be frozen Shaco, 2 open sockets for a bird. Damn. Damn, Amistad. Get it. But let's say I don't want sockets on mine. Well, I can take it offline, I can say no sockets, and I can search for everyone who's off the game. So if, for example, I wanted this guy's Shaco, this is, Vex for this, I can message him in game, which won't work because he's offline. Now, if he was online, I could copy this message and go into game and hit Control-V into the chat window, and it will post a message to him letting him know that I want his item. Or I can message him on the trade site, and it automatically generates a message to him, and hopefully next time he's online, or if he's just checking on his phone, he might be able to jump on and give me his item. That's uniques. That's pretty easy. Most price checks, though, come from things, well, the ones that annoy us are over those, because that's very, very easy to do. I'd recommend you learn how to do this. So, sockets, rarity, you're not really going to use that too much. Ethereal, you can flip it to yes, obviously, like if you want a death cleaver, which is what I'm looking for next. But I have one normally, so I just want ethereal death cleavers. Well, I can flip it to yes, and now everything that pops up is going to be ethereal. Now, here's the weird thing, is I understand people might have issues with things like charms, because those are weird, right? So if we go down to type is actually all the sort of base, I know base says base, but it's all the item types in the game. I can go to charms, and now, once I've selected charms, base has some options, small, large, and grand. Well, I want some skillers, so let's select grand charm, because that's what it would be, right? Now here's where it gets weird. If you type in, say, skills, well that's odd, that's a lot of stuff, and that's not really going to help me. Typing class skill, that seems like it might do something. But when you search for it, you're not going to find anything, because that's not the correct way to use it. What you actually want for skillers, at least, is to type in tree. Skill tree, because it's going to be separated into the type. So, if I type in paladin here, it'll bring up all the types of paladin skillers, or at least the 3 types, or whatever you're using for that class. Now I can search. Cool, now I've got combat skillers. Well, let's say I want life, because I'm only looking for ones with life. Well, when I type in life, that's a bunch of stuff. What about all life? No. 2 life. See, you have to go searching kind of through these and figure out, just read. You just got to read for just a little bit. But if I want 2 life, now I've added that on here, and it's added a property modifier. So if I only want things with plus 20 life, now I've got everything with plus 20 here. You see, every item is going to have over 20 life, and you can minimize or narrow down your search to figure out the price of your item. So the other thing that pops up all the time are crafted items or rare items. Now, crafted rare, I wouldn't even bother splitting it into it. I mean, you can narrow it down more, but let's say I wanted a dual leech ring. Those get popped up all the time, right? Well, life leech doesn't do anything. You have to know the actual affix in the game. It's life stolen per hit. Mana stolen per hit. I only want things with, let's say, 6 and 6 minimum. I want a really good one. Well, I can search here, and this will probably bring up some vamp gazes, right? Oh, it didn't. Oh, either way, I brought up some things first. Really, it didn't bring up any vamp gaze? Interesting. Oh, because I had the rarity set to rare. See, again, check your stuff. Know what you're doing. But if I just want to narrow it down to crafted items, I can do that as well. And now I've got all the dual leech rings. You'll get a Gothic axe here because I didn't set the type. Well, what if I just want the rings? You can go to jewelry, and your type at the top. And now I can just select rings. Rings and amulets. Cool. Now I've just got crafted dual leech rings. And you can do the same thing with any items. If I want lightning resistance, scroll through. There we go. I added lightning resistance. Now everything here, I've narrowed it down to 2. So let's say I had a dual leech ring with lightning res on it, and have no idea what the price is. Well, there's 2 of them going, an Ist and Gull, right? And these are fairly similar. I don't see really any difference between them. They have a little bit of lightning res, and they have enough leech for me to care about them. They also have some plus to life and plus to strength. Those are pretty good things. So I would guess that my item is worth about an Ist. Now, why am I guessing that my crafted dual leech ring is worth an Ist and not, say, a Gull? Well, let's talk about survivorship bias really quick. Let's say I want to check the price of an item, and I just don't know what it is because there's a lot of them. Let's take something common like an arachnid mesh, which is going to be a very common caster belt. It's the most commonly used caster belt in the game, there's high demand, and they drop fairly frequently. So, I need to know a few things about the item first. If I have no idea what's on the item or what class it goes to, I'm going to be lost, and that's how you start posting price checks that people kind of roll their eyes at because you don't know anything about the item. You probably should know what you have and ask around in the Discord or somewhere else where people might tell you why the item's good. And honestly, if you don't know why the item's good, just go look it up. Most of us are in our 30s. We've been playing this game a long time. At least most of us have. You should be able to figure that out. But on an arachnid mesh, the variable item here is going to be faster cast rate. Now, increased mana and enhanced defense are on there, but those aren't terribly important. The cast rate is what most people want. So that's going to determine the value of this particular item. So when I start seeing everything online, I go, okay, 17 is going for 1.5, 15 offer. If you see things for offer, just my personal advice, and I think a lot of people agree with this, I don't trade with people who put up offer. Unless it's something really silly or small, or, you know, I think they'll take an or a mal for whatever item it is. The person generally doesn't know what their item is worth, and that's a cheap way to try and get overpays for your item. I don't mess with it. Well, I got one here, 12. That's very low for a Vex, and it has a bad corruption on it, I guess. Strength is not terrible. 10% for a Vex, 15% for offer. Here's one here. Lowest we can go as an Ist, and lightning resist isn't a terrible corruption, but it's, you know, not great. So we're looking at an Ist for a bare minimum arachnid mesh. Oh, and it's F. Actually, scratch that one. Yeah, and always look at everything. 20 FCR for 2.5 high runes. Oh man, yeah, we're getting all over the place. So what we need to do is, first of all, lower ours. Let's say mine is at 15. Well, I'm going to go 2 up and say 2 down. So I'm looking for everything that's a mid-tier arachnid mesh. And actually, there was an ethereal one that popped up. I definitely don't want that's ethereal. And let's say mine's clean, and I don't want to corrupt it because I want to get the value out of it. Okay, we've now lowered down. We've narrowed our search to clean arachnid meshes around the same faster caster rate that we have. Let's look what people have them up for. 1.5, 1, 1, offer, 1, 1.5 firm, no low chop. 1 high rune, 1.5. Okay, we're getting the point. We're somewhere. Oh, here's an ohm. All right, this one's pretty low though, 1.25. We've got a basic idea. 13 seem to be right below that 1 mark, and anything above 15 might be pushing 1 or higher. Cool. Interesting. Xmal, you're getting the point here. We're looking at 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, somewhere in there for low ones. 1.5 for 1 near the higher, near that 17 cast rate. Alright, so what do I do? Well, if something's on the trade site here and it's a good deal, it's probably selling. So this 0.75 for this, 14%, I bet you that's technically, quote unquote, overpriced. Because if there was one posted for a Vex, it probably sold. 14%, 0.75. 13%, 1.5 high runes. Oh no, the trade site is overpriced. I can't use it. No. This is not selling for a reason. This is survivorship bias. Everything that's on the site is something that is not selling. So when you see 13%ers again for that Vex Gull or the equivalent in Ohm, that's because they're not selling at this price. So anything below 15% cast rate, I would price that at a Vex. And I bet you if you put it up for just a Vex, it will sell very quickly. And if you want to get a little more value, you can put it up for Vex Mal, Vex Ist, and try to get a little more. It's going to take a little more time. But that's sort of how you price things. There's a bunch of people asking for a bunch of silly things because they haven't checked it too. Don't be that person. So like this one is probably priced a little high. It's 13%, as we saw from the other ones. It's probably worth just that Vex. But this guy's not really overpricing it per se because he wants to get that Mal, and I bet you he's willing to sit down and wait. And that's perfectly fine. But in terms of pricing and survivorship bias, I think that's a pretty good example of how to go over it. That was a little longer than I wanted it to. Now, crafted weapons is another thing that's posted a lot, and honestly, price checks on those actually kind of legitimate. They are very unique items, they're weird, and just finding them and getting prices for them is really, really subjective. Oftentimes you're talking about GG items that people will pay out the ass for. So let's say throwing items. That was very big. It's still big for throw barbs, right? I can go to javelins. I can look at just, let's say, ghost glaives. Those are pretty common, right? Well, if I wanted a crafted item, which I probably want ethereal ones, I can change my rarity to crafted. Now I'm going to get any person who's crafted some kind of ethereal ghost glaive. And as you can see, ED, most of these people are pretty savvy, and you see they're putting the damage down. This is like, I'm not sure what these are worth or going for, but this is like a really, really detailed post. I don't mind this guy saying offer for this because it's an insane item. This is something where asking for an offer is perfectly legitimate, and if you're going to look for these rare items, you might need to deal with people saying offer, because you're going to have to haggle for these, especially for something like this that's really, really good. It's got great damage, it's got the IAS, it's got amplified damage, it's got life leech, and it's got deadly strike. Damn. That's good. That guy's going to be rich. But as you can see, people will consistently give you a need, or at least what's on the item. You just have to know this. Go to your type, get your base selected, or change it to wing harpoon, make sure you have crafted on, and if you want ethereal, things like that, if you want a certain enhanced damage, because you just know, you don't know what the top end damage is, but you know 250 is kind of a deal breaker for you. Alright, cool. Now I've only got the two things that have 250 on here, and you can narrow it down from there. Oh, and lastly, let's go over torches, because torches seem to be another thing people just don't know how to search for. Again, I can go to charms. Torches are large charms. Now, you might want to go tree, but that's not right. This is the one where you have to go to class skill. Now you can find what you're looking for. Paladin torch, make sure that's set. Now when I have charms, large, paladin skills, I should pull up all of the pally torches that are up for sale. And just like before, well, again, there's what? 10 pages of pally torches. If I need to narrow down what I'm doing, I can type in just all resistances, and my properties pop up down here. I only want things with 15 plus resistances. And now I've narrowed it down. And again, use your sort of survivorship bias brain and figure out what's selling and what isn't. So I've got a 15 here for 0.3. It's got decent vitality. No, 0.5, a little bit more. See how this works? 48. Well, these probably aren't selling. I bet you these are worth a little less than a Vex, because it's a 20. Ooh, well, vitality's bad. But you can see these, that's really good for a Vex, but it's still not selling. So I bet you those are worth a little bit more, maybe just a Gull Ist. Always remember your survivorship bias. And this is a great example here. we're going through things that are just plus 15 resists. This is a perfect pally torch. 60, 20. When you're looking at items that are perfect or near perfect, people will generally pay a premium, and that's a very difficult item to price. So actually asking for a price check on those is almost as inane as asking for a common item, because you're really going to have to haggle and find the right buyer for these items. Now that also depends on where you are in the season. So for example, I found a near perfect wind force, I think season 2. I found it with a month left to go. That item probably wouldn't be worth, well, it would be worth a lot, but uncorrupted, I wanted to sell it because I knew there was a month left and I could get a whole character for that item because people had accumulated so much wealth. And I think I put it up for offers and sold it for like 20 high runes. So where you are in the season matters. And one last thing here. Let's talk just quickly about how you field offers. A lot of us will not deal with you if you post something for offer. Now, a lot of people will, and some people enjoy that, but I guarantee you the community is very split on this, and I think it's like 70-30 from what I saw. People just won't deal with you if you put up offer. What I would do is put up offer, your current offer on the item if you have one, and a buyout price. And make sure to post that in the needs section whenever you are creating a trade. So, manual mode. Cool. Needs. I can put down offers. Current offer CO is 1.5. I can put buyout 4.5. Now everyone knows what my current offer is on the item if I have one, or what the buyout price is. If you don't have a current offer, you can say offer, buy it out for 4.5. That's a perfectly legitimate way of putting up an item that you don't either don't know the price of, or one where you're not sure if you even want to sell it. I do that an awful lot. I have a 3-stocket shaft stop a buddy of mine found. I put it up for 2.5 high runes. I might not sell it for that, but that's what I'm willing to let it go for because I think that's what it's worth based on what's up there. But if it doesn't sell for that, I'll just keep it and use it. You can put a buyout price on there, and that's a perfectly fine way of putting up an item that's quote-unquote overpriced because it's the price you're willing to let it go for. Not everything has to sell. And this is why it's so frustrating when people say the trade site is overpriced, because you just have to understand survivorship bias and personal worth. We're all trying to haggle and make trades here. So I hope this guide has helped you out a little bit. It's been more wordy than I wanted it to, but please check this out. Please pin it, and I hope it helps you in the future. Later, guys.